Welcome, curious minds, to the Deep Dive. This is where we plunge into your most intriguing sources, sift through the details, and really pull out those vital insights and aha moments that make you feel genuinely well-informed. Today, we're embarking on a journey that feels, well, less like a dive and maybe more like a leap into the cosmic known, stuff that's finally being brought into the light. Our topic for today is, frankly, nothing less than the unfolding narrative of extraterrestrial contact, government secrets, and what many in the disclosure community are calling a grand disclosure event. This isn't just about, if there's life out there, but what's been kept hidden for decades, and crucially, why these hidden truths seem to be emerging now, right before our eyes. We've got a truly fascinating set of claims before us today. This includes a powerful, almost prophetic message from a source identified in our material as Ashtar, who apparently comes from something called the Galactic Command, which is described as like a confederation of benevolent extraterrestrial civilizations.
And this extraordinary message, it's woven together with detailed accounts of leaked videos, whistleblower testimonies, things that have frankly challenged the very foundations of conventional thought. Our mission today is clear. We want to unpack these profound claims as they're presented in our sources, to examine the compelling evidence as described within this material, and to help you, our listener, navigate these incredibly intriguing waters with clarity and hopefully some discernment. We're here to understand the assertions being made, their potential implications. We're not here to declare absolute truths, but really just explore the landscape of these revelations. Get ready, because we promise some surprising facts and connections that might just shift your perspective a bit. And we're going to start with a piece of visual evidence that has truly shaken the community and sparked immense debate for years: the mysterious Skinny Bob video. So this conversation around disclosure, this whole idea that humanity is like right on the cusp of openly acknowledging extraterrestrial presence, it's not just growing, it's exploding, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It really feels like something significant is shifting.
Yeah, it genuinely feels like something profound is shifting in the collective consciousness. It's not just relegated to, fringe discussions anymore. We're seeing it enter mainstream news cycles, even official government briefings, in ways it just never did before. There's this palpable sense that the world is waking up to a larger reality.
Indeed. And according to our source, Ashtar, this growing awareness is precisely what's described as the Great Awakening. The message from Ashtar really emphasizes that the truth long hidden in the shadows now emerges into the light. It's not presented as a slow trickle anymore. Ashtar frames it as an inevitable, almost unstoppable flood. The declaration is pretty unequivocal. The unveiling of our presence, your cosmic family, is not just coming, it is already happening all around you. No force can stop this.
That's a powerful statement, isn't it? It suggests a kind of unstoppable momentum behind what so many people are witnessing and feeling.
It really is. And does Ashtar point to specific things we can see, like actual signs? Yes, exactly. Ashtar points to several very concrete signs of disclosure that, according to the source, we can observe right now. First, consider the shift in official narratives. You've got authorities and governments finally whispering about non-human retrieved materials from crashed craft. Think about it just a few years ago. Admissions like that were unthinkable, right? They'd be met with immediate ridicule.
Oh, completely. Dismissed instantly.
Right. Now we have congressional hearings, official UAP task force reports talking about non-human intelligences, unidentified anomalous phenomena, and without all that previous scorn. Then there's the traditional media. For so long, major news outlets ridiculed UFOs, often framing them as just bizarre anecdotal curiosities.
The stuff of tabloids.
Exactly. But now, as Ashtar highlights, they discuss them with seriousness, often using that more official, kind of sanitized term, UAPs. Which is subtle, maybe, but it's an incredibly significant shift in language. It lends this air of legitimacy to the whole discussion. And maybe most compellingly, you have whistleblowers coming forward at great personal risk to share what they know. These are individuals like, say, David Grush, a decorated intelligence officer who testified under oath about a multi-decade program to recover and reverse engineer non-human craft. I mean, facing significant personal and professional peril to bring this information out. Their courage, Ashtar suggests, is a really powerful catalyst in all this.
That makes sense. The personal risk involved really underscores the potential gravity of what they're revealing.
Absolutely. And these developments, Ashtar describes them as the first soft rays of a vast new dawn. The source promises that soon the full light of disclosure will flood your world. Quote. What's key here, according to this message, is that disclosure won't just involve, say, dramatic sightings of our ships in your skies, although such events might indeed happen, Ashtar emphasizes it will also come with the release of knowledge long suppressed. This implies a sort of systematic revelation, hidden scientific info, historical truths, maybe even spiritual information that's been deliberately withheld.
Knowledge? Like what kind of knowledge?
Well, the source stresses that Earth has been visited and observed by many civilizations, not just in recent decades, but throughout history. This broader historical context really challenges the idea that these are entirely new phenomena. It suggests instead that humanity's interactions with extraterrestrial life are woven deeply into our past, perhaps, inspiring ancient myths of sky gods and advanced beings.
So the gods of antiquity might have been visitors.
That's the implication from this source, yes. Furthermore, Ashtar directly addresses those who've maintained the secrecy for so long, stating that those who decided humanity wasn't ready, or who sought to maintain power through secrecy, simply cannot hold back this current of truth. The momentum is just too great, apparently. The cracks in the dam of secrecy are too numerous, too widespread to contain anymore. The truth, Ashtar claims, is emerging through all sorts of channels. Official channels, yes, but also through you. Meaning, through the collective voice of the awakened, the independent researchers, the spiritual teachers, the citizen journalists, the courageous whistleblowers, the channels.
So it's not just a top-down thing. It's bubbling up from everywhere.
Precisely. It points to a decentralized kind of organic process driven by many different actors, not just some governmental press release. It suggests that the collective human consciousness is playing a vital, active role in pulling this truth into the light, demanding it, making it undeniable. I mean, think about the sheer volume of citizen-captured UAP footage, independent research, the connectivity of the internet. It makes it almost impossible to keep those old walls of secrecy standing.
That's a truly incredible overview, isn't it? This isn't just about abstract concepts of awakening. Our sources point to very specific pieces of evidence that many claim are genuine glimpses into this unfolding reality. And among them, none has generated more intense debate and, frankly, fascination than what's known as the Skinny Bob footage. Let's really dive into that now. Okay, let's talk about Skinny Bob. This is a piece of leaked evidence that has created, excitement and a lot of controversy in the UFO community for years now. It's been debated, analyzed, even ridiculed sometimes, but it just keeps resurfacing in discussions because of how uncanny and persistent its impact has been. For many people, it carries this undeniable feeling of authenticity.
Exactly. The enigma of Skinny Bob first kind of burst onto the scene back in 2011. That's when a series of small black and white videos appeared anonymously online, uploaded by some unknown source. These clips supposedly show an extraterrestrial being, often referred to as a classic gray alien, interacting with what appear to be human officials in what looks like old archived footage. The being itself is described in the accompanying material as slender, with a large head, big dark eyes, and delicate features. And what's striking about that description, and a point of real interest for many researchers, is that it matches numerous witness descriptions of beings from a certain star system often associated with the Greys, specifically Zeta Reticuli.
Ah, so there's consistency with other accounts.
Exactly. That consistency adds a layer of intrigue to the footage right away. The clips themselves depict very specific, almost mundane scenes, which paradoxically kind of add to their unsettling realism. One shows the being seated at a table as if in a telepathic interview. That particular scene is just captivating because of the alien's calm demeanor and the implied, silent communication. It makes you wonder what profound exchange was happening there.
Right, what were they talking about?
Exactly. Another clip features several similar beings together outdoors, a scene that researchers affectionately call the family portrait scene. It attempts to humanize them somewhat, showing them in what seems like a more natural, perhaps even relaxed setting. And a third segment even shows a being lying in a shallow pool of liquid, perhaps resting or recuperating. This hints at specific environmental or biological needs that are very different from ours, suggesting a being adapted to a unique kind of ecosystem.
Fascinating. There was text with these videos, wasn't there? What did that claim?
Yes, the accompanying text released with these anonymous videos made some pretty bold claims. It alleged that they were made between the early 1940s and late 1960s, and supposedly by a secret intelligence agency of a major world power in the East, which most people took to mean the Soviet Union.
Okay, so Cold War era.
Right. This wasn't presented as just a random sighting or a single encounter, but rather as part of a hidden diplomatic contact program. Furthermore, the text claimed that the extraterrestrial Skinny Bob was part of an envoy sent to discuss matters of mutual interest with Earth governments. The visitors, according to these claims, had very limited contact, meeting with only a few high officials under strict secrecy and security. These specific details paint a picture of a controlled, clandestine interaction on a global scale.
Wow. So when this stuff dropped online, what was the reaction?
Oh, as you can imagine, when these mysterious videos first surfaced, they caused an absolute storm of debate within the UFO community and beyond. Our source notes that many who watched them felt an immediate intuitive recognition, this powerful, visceral feeling of, this is real. Yet just as many others dismissed it outright as an obvious hoax or CGI tricks, especially given the state of digital effects back then.
Yeah, CGI wasn't what it is today.
Not at all. So for years, the question just lingered. Was Skinny Bob genuine footage from a hidden past, or just an elaborate, meticulously crafted fabrication? It really became a kind of Rorschach test for people's pre-existing beliefs about the whole extraterrestrial phenomenon. The immediate division it created only deepened the enigma, #BB, the authenticity confirmed and cleverly disguised.
Okay, so that's the central question, isn't it? After all the debate, the skepticism, and also the profound hope it inspired in some, what does our source, Ashtar, actually say about the authenticity of Skinny Bob? Is this truly a genuine glimpse into hidden history or just a very clever trick?
According to Ashtar, the confirmation is pretty unequivocal. The message states directly, yes, the being that you see in that footage is real. The film is authentic. It goes on. All of you were gifted with a genuine glimpse of hidden history, a moment when human and extraterrestrial representatives sat at the same table and communicated. That's a remarkably bold statement from our source, directly addressing years of intense speculation and skepticism.
Wow. Okay, so real. But why all the debate then? If it's real, why wasn't it immediately obvious?
Well, Ashtar adds a crucial nuance here, which explains why the debate has raged for so long. To say the footage is authentic does not mean every second of it is presented exactly as originally recorded. That's a vital distinction. Our source explains that the anonymous leakers who bravely brought this footage out actually edited some frames and overlaid some deceptive elements before releasing them.
Deceptive elements, like what?
Well, for example, they apparently inserted a recognizable emblem and some publicly available documentary labels details that would immediately make a casual viewer think, oh, I've seen that before, and dismiss it.
So they deliberately made it look less real. Why would they do that?
It was a deliberate red herring, according to Ashtar, designed specifically to make casual observers think it was just from some old TV show or some known fictional work. The leakers, Ashtar claims, knew that if the footage appeared unquestionably real and unique, then authorities would track and pursue them quickly and aggressively. So they protected themselves and their source by making it appear less threatening, less obviously authentic to the powers that be. Clever, really.
That is clever. Almost counterintuitive.
Exactly. And the ironic success of this tactic, Ashtar points out, is that many dismiss the entire clip because of these superficial additions, assuming the alien itself must just be another special effect. It speaks to the power of a well-placed misdirection.
So Ashtar saying the alien itself isn't CGI.
That's the claim. Our source directly debunks the CGI claims, emphasizing that the core of the film, Skinny Bob himself, has never been unmasked nor credibly replicated to this day. Furthermore, no visual effects expert has provided proof that Skinny Bob was computer-generated. In fact, skilled visual artists and animators who've examined it frame by frame were apparently stupefied. Some professionals stated it would require a Hollywood-level team and budget, and even then surpasses all known hoaxes in realistic quality. The subtleties of movement, the light interaction, the sheer naturalism of the being. They contend it remains beyond current known hoaxing capabilities.
That's a powerful assertion. For many of our listeners who aren't experts in visual effects, could you expand a bit more on why it's so difficult to fake something like Skinny Bob, especially considering it surfaced over a decade ago? What specific markers do digital hoaxes usually leave that are reportedly absent here?
Absolutely. Well, when visual effects experts analyze footage like this, they look for very specific telltales, Digital hoaxes, even really sophisticated ones, often struggle with perfect integration. You might see subtle lighting inconsistencies where the digital element doesn't quite match the real-world lighting of the background, or maybe a slight blur around the edges that indicates an artificial overlay. Texture mapping, the way a digital skin or surface looks, can sometimes appear too perfect or unnaturally uniform. Digital artifacts like aliasing or subtle pixelation can also be giveaways.
Okay, so yes.
Little glitches. Right. With Skinny Bob, Analysts, according to our sources, have noted the consistent film grain, that organic, random texture of genuine analog film that permeates the entire image. That grain would be incredibly difficult to replicate perfectly and consistently across every single frame if the alien itself were a digital insertion. A digital overlay would likely leave discernible layers, like two separate images kind of merged together. And the interaction of light and shadow on Skinny Bob's form appears to be really consistent with a physical object filmed by an analog camera.
So it looks like it was actually there in the room being filmed.
That's the argument. It's these tiny, almost imperceptible details, the subtle shifts in light, the organic flow of the film itself, that are exceedingly difficult to fake convincingly in a real-time moving image, particularly with the technology available back when it surfaced. Ashtar also adds a more, let's say, metaphysical point, positing that no computer program can encode the presence of a soul, beloveds, but a simple film reel capturing a living conscious being can indeed carry a subtle imprint of that being's energy.
An energetic signature.
Right. While that's not exactly a scientific forensic point, it speaks to the profound, almost spiritual resonance many people feel when watching the footage, that it carries an energetic signature of life. You know, the tiny movements, the gentle gaze.
Okay, so if it's real, what was the purpose of letting it leak, according to Ashtar?
Ashtar explains Skinny Bob's intended impact, revealing that the footage was allowed to emerge as part of humanity's awakening preparation. It was essentially a gentle test balloon designed to gradually seed the collective consciousness with an image of an extraterrestrial that is not frightening or grotesque, but calm, even relatable, a small being with wise and expressive eyes. You are invited by our source to notice the melancholy and patience in Skinny Bob's eyes and that unexplainable emotion many feel when they gaze into them. This, Ashtar suggests, is because you are looking at the face of another person from beyond Earth, not a cartoon. The being, Ashtar claims, knew that one day these images might be seen by the people of Earth, looking through the camera to you, the future audience, with empathy and hope. It suggests a conscious effort from the other side to prepare us for deeper contact.
Looking at us through the camera. It's quite a thought.
It is. And the connection to the present moment is also emphasized by Ashtar. Here we are now, in your year of 2025, speaking of him without fear. This is precisely how disclosure is unfolding, according to the source. First, a leak or rumor, then years of debate and integration into the collective mind, and finally official confirmation. That slow burn of public acceptance, seeded by evidence like this and the gradual normalization of the topic, is apparently part of a grander, deliberate plan for humanity's gradual awakening. Hashtag tag definitely, the diplomatic mission and its context.
That's a truly profound narrative. So digging deeper, what was the context of Skinny Bob's presence on Earth? Was he just an isolated visitor or part of a larger, more complex series of interactions with Earth governments that remain deeply secret? This is where the story gets even richer, I imagine.
Exactly. According to Ashtar, Skinny Bob was a member of a small diplomatic mission that came to Earth in the mid-20th century. Their origin is specified as a star system in the constellation you call Reticulum, often referred to as Zeta Reticuli. Ashtar clarifies that while they are the beings often commonly referred to as Greys, Skinny Bob's group was specifically a benevolent faction with different intentions and a distinct agenda compared to some other groups associated with that designation.
That's crucial. So not all Greys are the same.
That's the key nuance here, yes. Different factions, different motivations. Their mission, Ashtar reveals, was incredibly significant and driven by, well, a desperate need to repair a fractured timeline and to help both their own species and humanity avoid certain catastrophic paths.
Repair a fractured timeline. Wow. That sounds heavy.
It does. It implies a deep interdependency between our species and theirs, and maybe even a shared cosmic fate. It was essentially a desperate plea. They sought a mutual exchange. They needed assistance and resources from Earth governments to solve their civilization's survival challenges. Specifically, our source mentions a serious genetic decline that plagued their people, threatening their very existence.
Genetic decline. Okay. And what did they offer in return?
In return for Earth's aid, they offered to share knowledge and technology to benefit humanity. Ashtar emphasizes they arrived as envoys under carefully negotiated terms, not as invaders, highlighting the diplomatic nature of their visit.
Okay, so a formal negotiated arrangement.
Apparently so. And what's particularly fascinating, Ashtar points out, is the interesting symmetry of simultaneous diplomatic efforts happening. While Skinny Bob and others were dealing with the main Eastern power of the time, the Soviet Union, their colleagues, were making contact with the main Western power, the United States.
Both superpowers. Yeah. At the same time, during the Cold War.
Exactly. This implies a highly coordinated global approach from the extraterrestrial side, even if Earth's powers weren't exactly coordinating with each other. Quite the opposite, in fact. Ashtar connects this Western contact to a very famous meeting around 1954 involving a U.S. president, implicitly Dwight D. Eisenhower, the former general who reportedly signed some kind of pact with these beings. This event, according to Ashtar, set a precedent and immediately fueled the Eastern superpowers' desire to seek similar agreements, to gain technological parity.
So the Skinny Bob footage is from the Soviet side.
Ashtar confirms that, yes, the leaked Skinny Bob footage is indeed from the Eastern Side program.
So we have these two global superpowers, locked in the Cold War, secretly engaging with the same extraterrestrial group, but not talking to each other about it. That must have created an incredibly complex and tense environment.
Oh, absolutely. The source highlights the stark contrast between the two programs. While the American initiative was apparently buried under layers of ultra-secrecy, managed by a secret committee of 12 black projects.
Majestic 12, perhaps. That name comes up a lot.
The source doesn't specify the name, but Committee of 12 is mentioned. Meanwhile, the Soviets equally ran their own secret program. Both nations, despite being geopolitical rivals, were intensely interested in gaining any technological advantage from these visitors, advanced propulsion, energy, medical breakthroughs, you name it. However, they were also deeply distrustful and fearful of each other, making the secrecy even more paramount and the interactions incredibly delicate. This Cold War context heavily influenced the extreme secrecy. With both sides paranoid, the other might gain some insurmountable advantage.
It adds another layer of complexity, definitely. Was there anything else about that specific footage? Incidents mentioned?
Yes, a very specific detail mentioned in the leaked text accompanying the videos was a 1961 hidden camera incident. Ashtar confirms this event actually happened. Apparently, the envoys were having some leisure time outdoors, a rare concession in their rigidly controlled visit. Their human caretakers, as the source calls them, decided to secretly film them from a distance. This was likely out of a mix of, raw scientific curiosity, wanting to document everything, or maybe just pure paranoia about what these beings were doing when they thought they weren't being watched.
And how did the visitors react to being secretly filmed?
According to Ashtar, they were not pleased. They viewed it as a broken agreement, a small but significant breach of trust.
So even these advanced beings have boundaries, it seems. It's almost relatable, isn't it?
Yep.
Imagine flying across the galaxy just to have some human caretakers sneak a camera on your downtime. What were the consequences?
Indeed, it speaks to a universal understanding of privacy and trust, maybe regardless of species. And that breach, as Ashtar explains, led to diplomatic friction and a revision of contact protocols. The visitors insisted on stricter terms to protect their privacy moving forward. It wasn't a minor incident. It showed a lack of respect for the agreed-upon terms, and it necessitated renegotiation. The source emphasizes the specificity and, the mundane yet profound nature of this detail as evidence of authenticity. Such nuance is hardly the product of a random hoaxer's imagination. It adds a very human, or rather very relatable element to the alien encounter, showing that even advanced beings react to breaches of trust, and that these weren't just abstract scientific experiments, but genuine diplomatic encounters with personalities involved. #, D Skinny Bob's identity and legacy.
This level of detail is just astonishing. So what does this all mean for us, and what more can we learn about the being himself, the one we've come to know as Skinny Bob? How does his story, and the context of his visit, impact our understanding of this unfolding disclosure?
Well, first, Ashtar clarifies that Skinny Bob was just an internet nickname, as we mentioned. His true name is apparently telepathically expressed and would be unpronounceable in human tongue, which points to a form of communication far beyond our current grasp. We learn a bit about his role. He was both a scientist and a diplomat in his society, and he carried, as Ashtar describes it, the heavy burden of hope for peaceful collaboration for the benefit of both our peoples. This paints a picture of a conscious, feeling being with a significant purpose dedicated not only to the survival of his species, but also to the mutual benefit of interacting with humanity.
The burden of hope.
Yeah.
That's quite a phrase. And this links back to their civilization's crisis, right? The genetic decline.
Exactly. That crisis is reiterated as a major driving force behind his mission. Their genetics were fragile, their future uncertain, and they looked to Earth for both refuge and DNA material to revitalize themselves. This is a key motivation behind their diplomatic efforts. This then leads into a particularly sensitive and frankly controversial topic. Ashtar states, yes, part of the secret agreements made involved the Greys obtaining genetic samples. These actions, Ashtar claims, later resulted in those mysterious abduction reports that your researchers have collected over the decades, often causing great distress.
Okay, wait. So Ashtar is directly linking the abduction phenomenon to these secret agreements.
That's the claim made in our source material, yes. Ashtar stresses that these sample collections were intended to be non-harmful and very limited, but acknowledges that, though the program did veer off course at times, Ashtar adds, "I do not condemn the methods used on unconscious humans, but understand it was born of desperate need."
That's a very challenging perspective. Attributing abductions to desperate need rather than malice while still acknowledging the harm.
It is challenging, and it's presented as the perspective from Ashtar's viewpoint, understanding the motivation without necessarily condoning the methods or the trauma caused. It's a crucial but difficult part of the narrative presented.
It does. What about simpler details, like his appearance in the videos? Clothing.
Right. Well, regarding Skinny Bob's clothing in the footage, Ashtar notes he appears to be wearing some sort of close-fitting suit in some scenes, and perhaps a simple garment in others, end quote. This might seem like a minor detail, but it leads to a fascinating anecdote shared by Ashtar, which further humanizes the contact. Apparently, during some secret encounters, efforts were made by both sides to put everyone at ease, even in terms of clothing. Ashtar provides the example of a U.S. desert base engineer who recalled an ET guest being given a sweater to wear during a casual encounter just to help him feel more comfortable in a human environment.
A sweater. On an extraterrestrial, that's a wonderful detail. It paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Beyond the high-stakes diplomacy and science, there is this subtle, almost awkward attempt at hospitality. It really makes you pause and think about the actual human element in these extraordinary interactions.
It truly does. These touches of normality, however strange, point again to the reality of the situation, according to Ashtar. Ashtar emphasizes that this was a sincere attempt at dialogue between species, fraught with challenges, yes, but underpinned by a profound purpose. So, to reiterate and confirm for you, our listener, Ashtar states unequivocally, the Skinny Bob footage is genuine, and it shows a real being from another world. It is precious evidence, and more than that, it is a catalyst for awakening many who have seen it. For those of you who feel called to be truth ambassadors, Ashtar advises that you certainly can use it as a gentle tool to open conversations with others, helping them maybe bridge that gap between skepticism and open-mindedness. It's not just about proof, it's about shifting consciousness and facilitating dialogue.
Okay, so while Skinny Bob was navigating the complex world of Eastern diplomacy, our sources indicate the United States military was hosting its own extraterrestrial visitors. This leads to a parallel narrative of contact and secrecy, but maybe with a different origin story for the visitor himself.
That's right. Ashtar confirms that throughout the decades, there have been multiple non-human individuals in custody or residing in various secret facilities in America. So not just one or two isolated cases. The source then zeroes in on the most famous case, the entity codenamed J-Rod, who is allegedly held at the S4 section of the ultra-secret testing site in Nevada near the infamous Area 51.
Ah, Area 51 and S4. Names that are almost legendary in UFO lore.
Exactly. For those unfamiliar, Area 51 is that highly restricted U.S. Air Force facility that's been a magnet for UFO speculation for decades, and S4 is believed to be a deeper, even more classified sub-facility within that complex, maybe near Papoose Lake. Now, for those of you who followed these topics, you've likely heard whispers of J-Rod before, largely through whistleblower accounts. Ashtar acknowledges that much of what the public knows came from a courageous whistleblower, a microbiologist, and others who corroborated parts of the account, figures like Bob Lazar, whose claims about reverse engineering alien tech at S4 included details about J-Rod.
And Ashtar confirms this story.
Yes, the confirmation from Ashtar is direct. The story of J-Rod is true. There was indeed a small gray being housed at that facility. And this being, according to our source, matched Skinny Bob's appearance remarkably. About 3 to 4 feet tall, with a large head, big black eyes, and long, thin arms. This consistent description across different leaked accounts, from both Eastern and Western programs, really strengthens the overall narrative of a specific type of extraterrestrial engaged with humanity during that period.
Okay, same type of being. But how did J-Rod arrive? Was it also a diplomatic mission?
No, J-Rod's arrival, according to Ashtar, was different. He was not a jest, but a survivor of a craft that crashed in the early 1950s in the American Southwest. End quote. This connects directly to previously rumored events in the, nascent days of the UFO phenomenon. Ashtar briefly recaps. After the famous crash in the desert in 1947, the one often associated with Roswell, New Mexico, which really kicked off the modern UFO era, U.S. leadership formed a top-secret committee to manage all things extraterrestrial. By 1953, when another craft crashed near a place called Kingman, Arizona, this secret infrastructure was apparently fully operational and ready to handle such an event.
So they recovered a survivor from the Kingman crash.
That's the claim. The recovered being, J-Rod, was subsequently brought to an underground facility by a dry lake bed in Nevada known as Section 4, or S4, adjacent to the Area 51 testing area. There, a specialized habitat was meticulously built for him, attempting to mimic aspects of his native environment, things like an atmosphere with higher ammonia content and lower lighting levels. This really speaks to the scientific and engineering resources poured into understanding and, well, maintaining contact with this being.
So he was basically a captive, but they tried to keep him alive and communicating.
Essentially, yes. Despite being essentially held captive, Ashtar claims J-Rod cooperated with his captors to a remarkable degree. He communicated telepathically and using certain devices, and apparently shared significant information about his species, their technology, the cosmos. His hope, much like Skinny Bob's counterpart on the other side of the world, was that humanity could help his own people solve their problems. This highlights that shared motivation for cooperation from this particular gray faction's side. The desperate need for the survival of their species, making their interaction with humanity a matter of existential importance for them. #B, a bond beyond worlds.
This is where the narrative shifts from fascinating historical detail to something truly profound, because the relationship between J-Rod and his human handlers apparently transcended mere scientific observation or, captive and interrogator dynamics. Our sources speak of an extraordinary connection that formed.
Yes, particularly between J-Rod and one specific human, that microbiologist we mentioned. By the 1990s, J-Rod had been at the S4 facility for a very long time, decades apparently, and his health was critically deteriorating. He was suffering from neurological degeneration, which Ashtar attributes to being caused by the radiation and gravity of our planet slowly poisoning his delicate system. Our Earth's environment just wasn't compatible with his biology long term.
So he was dying.
It seems so. This microbiologist was assigned to work closely with him, and an extraordinary bond developed between them, something far beyond professional obligation. The scientist, according to Ashtar, came to call J-Rod a friend and spent countless hours in conversation, much of it telepathic, forging a real intellectual and emotional intimacy with this being from another world.
A friendship across species in captivity. That's incredible.
It is. And the source describes a particularly poignant encounter as J-Rod's life was apparently fading. J-Rod, normally quite reserved and visibly unexpressive, suddenly extended his arms and embraced the human. You have to picture it. These greys have very long, thin arms, as the source notes, and he wrapped them around this man in a gesture of comradeship. An utterly unexpected physical manifestation of affection.
Wow.
And simultaneously, J-Rod flooded the scientist's mind with a cascade of vivid telepathic images and feelings. He showed him panoramas of the Greys' home world, the intricate history of J-Rod's people, their struggles, their hopes. And most movingly, he transmitted a deep spiritual message that reverberated through the scientist's very being. Look, you are seeing the face of your brother.
Face of your brother. That's an incredibly powerful moment. In that instant, it sounds like everything the scientist had been taught, all the preconceived notions of alien or other, must have just dissolved. What was the impact?
According to Ashtar, in that singular moment, the human scientist experienced a profound realization. This alien being saw him not as an experimenter or captor, but as family. The clear meaning, Ashtar emphasizes, was, we are connected, our souls are linked, not just scientifically, but spiritually and universally. The scientist reportedly wept as years of ingrained fear and prejudice dissolved in that embrace, just overwhelmed by the sheer depth of love and kinship J-Rod offered. He felt the pure, unadulterated connection, a sense of shared origin and destiny. This anecdote really serves to humanize the extraterrestrial other in a deeply impactful way, shifting the paradigm from them and us to simply us.
It certainly does. It challenges everything.
And this connection, according to Ashtar, runs even deeper, truly bending the mind. Our source reveals a truly astonishing claim about J-Rod's lineage, Ashtar claims. He was actually a distant descendant of humanity from a future timeline that diverged.
Hold on, wait. A future descendant of humanity from a different timeline. That's astounding.
Oh, it's a massive revelation presented in the source material, yes. Suggesting that the very beings some fear as invaders or, experiments are, in a cosmic sense, our own future selves, or at least a branch of our own family tree that took a different path. Ashtar notes that this complex story is for another time, as it delves into concepts of time travel and parallel universes, which is beyond our scope today.
But if the Greys, or at least this particular faction, are literally our future descendants.
Yeah.
How does that fundamentally reshape our understanding of our responsibility to them, and maybe to our own future timeline? This isn't just about ancient history, it's about our destiny, isn't it? It shifts the whole dynamic from alien to family in a truly profound way.
It absolutely does. And Ashtar suggests this is the immediate and most crucial takeaway from this revelation. If they are, in essence, our extended cosmic family, then their desperate plea for assistance with their genetic problems takes on an entirely new dimension, doesn't it? It suggests that perhaps, in some way, our actions now, our choices regarding open contact and assistance, could ripple through time and impact their very existence. This perspective fundamentally challenges the common narrative of fear and otherness that has surrounded the gray archetype for so long, replacing it with a potentially profound sense of shared destiny and responsibility.
It changes everything.
It aims to. And this revelation, Ashtar claims, reinforces that deeply nuanced view of the Greys we talked about. While some factions of them did unpleasant things here, referring back to that program that veered off course, linked to the abduction phenomena, Ashtar stresses that others like Skinny Bob and J-Rod are benevolent and deeply connected to us. They deserve empathy, not reflexive fear. They call us brothers and sisters, and in the grand cosmic sense, Ashtar says, it is true. This challenges the often negative and monolithic portrayal of Greys in popular culture, urging us to look beyond simplistic categorizations and embrace a more complex, perhaps compassionate understanding of different extraterrestrial groups and their motivations. #CC, coordinated efforts, and secret treaties.
Okay, so putting these two figures together, Skinny Bob in the East, J-Rod in the West. How do they fit together in this unfolding narrative? Were their efforts coordinated, or were they operating completely in isolation? And what does this say about the global secrecy around these encounters, especially during the height of the Cold War?
Well, Ashtar clarifies their relationship. Not exactly the same individual, but they are members of the same cosmic team, you could say. They were essentially two colleagues from the same diplomatic mission stationed in different countries. It's highly probable, according to Ashtar, that they most likely knew of each other's presence on Earth and were probably in communication through their own means, whatever those might be. This suggests a grander, more coordinated extraterrestrial strategy to approach humanity on a global scale.
So the visitors were coordinated, even if the humans weren't.
Exactly. The Greys' efforts were coordinated to a degree, Ashtar explains, even if Earth's two superpowers at the time did not coordinate with each other. In fact, from humanity's side, it was a somewhat competitive scenario. Both the Western and Eastern blocs were trying to gain what they could from the Greys' cooperation, whether it was advanced propulsion, energy solutions, maybe even insights into consciousness, while also frantically trying to keep each other in the dark about their progress and any agreements they made.
So a sort of cosmic arms race, but shrouded in absolute secrecy, with multiple players involved on the human side. That sounds like a recipe for a very complicated series of agreements.
Precisely. This complex situation led to what Ashtar describes as a complex web of secret treaties. Our source states that multiple nations eventually became involved, not just the US and Soviet Union, but also Great Britain, perhaps a North American neighbor, and others across the globe. Each nation received a piece of the puzzle, whether it was a small technological breakthrough, a limited contact program of their own, or maybe just shared intelligence passed along covertly. This created a very distributed system of knowledge and technology exchange, making it incredibly difficult to track or unify from the outside.
And the Greys, how did they navigate this?
According to Ashtar, the Greys, for their part, were essentially doing a balancing act. They were providing just enough to each side to maintain relations and obtain what they needed for their own species' survival. This demonstrates, perhaps, their strategic intelligence in navigating the volatile geopolitical landscape of Earth during that time. They were playing a delicate game to secure their objectives, while maybe trying to avoid catastrophic global conflicts sparked by premature, unmanaged disclosure of their presence or technology. The existence of these parallel and interconnected yet deeply secret programs on both sides of the Cold War Iron Curtain is really a testament to the truly unprecedented scale and complexity of these hidden interactions, as described by the source. #4FE, the grand tapestry of disclosure and humanity's role. #A, ancient connections, and why now?
This brings us to a really sweeping perspective, connecting our deep past to our immediate future. If we pull back and look at this bigger picture, it makes you wonder, why do so many of us feel that strange sense of familiarity when we look at images of these beings like Skinny Bob or J-Rod? It's almost like a distant memory, isn't it? And why is all of this information, these hidden histories, finally coming out now at this specific, seemingly critical moment in our history?
That feeling of familiarity, Ashtar explains, is not coincidence. Just as there are multiple human races on Earth, there are countless star lineages spread across the galaxies. And some of them, like the particular gray faction we've been discussing today, apparently share more than just physical resemblances. We share an intertwined history, a cosmic journey reaching back to lost eons.
An intertwined history.
Wow. It's a profound concept that humanity isn't just some isolated experiment, but part of a larger galactic family with shared roots, perhaps even shared DNA in a grander cosmic sense. This idea connects directly to our ancient myths. Ashtar states that ancient myths about gods who descended from the heavens, teaching humans agriculture, astronomy, and laws of civilization, are not mere allegories or just primitive attempts to explain natural phenomena. Rather, according to our source, they speak of a time when advanced beings like Skinny Bob's and J-Rod's own ancestors walked openly among you.
So the legends were real history, in a way.
That's the assertion. So what we're witnessing now, this burgeoning disclosure, is, in a way, a repetition of a very ancient cycle, a kind of re-encounter. But the difference this time is crucial, Ashtar emphasizes. This time, you are not passive spectators, you are active participants. Humanity is no longer just being acted upon, it is co-creating its reality and actively driving the pace of this new era of cosmic interaction.
Okay, that makes sense. But why now? After centuries, maybe millennia, of relative silence or deep secrecy, why is it all bubbling up right now?
Ashtar claims the truth is emerging at this critical moment in human history because you are finally ready. This readiness, according to our source, is attributed to several key interconnected factors coming together. First, the veil of illusion is growing too thin to be sustained. This refers to the collective energetic and spiritual density that has kept these truths hidden for so long. It's dissolving, Ashtar suggests, as humanity's consciousness expands.
The veil thinning, like people are just seeing more clearly.
Something like that. Second, technology has allowed you to witness what was once hidden. Beyond just cameras on every phone, this includes the internet, which enables rapid dissemination of information, fosters independent research communities, and allows ordinary citizens to share and analyze UAP sightings globally, completely bypassing traditional gatekeepers.
True, information spreads like wildfire now.
Exactly. Third, spirituality has awakened hearts to larger truths. There's a visible global surge in spiritual seeking, meditation practices, a broader understanding of consciousness beyond pure materialism. This prepares minds to accept more expansive realities. And perhaps most powerfully, Ashtar claims, the Earth herself is undergoing an energetic transformation that makes it impossible to hold the old structures of control.
The Earth itself, how so?
It suggests a planetary energetic shift, maybe a rise in vibrational frequency that literally makes it difficult for old paradigms of secrecy and control to even exist. It forces them into the light. These combined factors, according to Ashtar, have created an undeniable pressure cooker effect, pushing disclosure out from the shadows. #B, the 1954 Presidential Pact and its aftermath.
That's a powerful explanation for the timing of this shift. Speaking of history, Ashtar mentioned a crucial event earlier that seems pivotal. That 1954 meeting between a U.S. president and extraterrestrial visitors. What exactly happened there, according to the source, and how did it set the stage for everything that followed, including some of the more unsettling aspects like the abduction phenomena?
Right, Ashtar provides a very specific account of this pivotal event, the so-called Eisenhower Pact, though the source doesn't use the specific presidential name, focusing more on the event itself. On that February night on a remote California airbase, Ashtar says, an agreement was signed, not a peace treaty between nations, but a pact between species.
A pact between species. That immediately elevates the significance beyond anything we normally think about.
Absolutely. It places it as potentially one of the most important moments in modern human history, if true. The terms outlined, according to Ashtar, were relatively clear. Advanced technology would be shared in exchange for limited permission to study human biology. That was the core quid pro quo, apparently a desperate bargain from humanity's side for technological advancement.
Okay, tech for biological study.
Yeah.
But you said it led to unsettling things.
Yes, a significant problem apparently emerged from this pact. Ashtar reveals that some of those involved, both human and non-human, misinterpreted the spirit of the agreement or perhaps even deliberately exploited its loopholes. What was intended, maybe in its purest form, as a limited and collaborative study became a secret extraction operation, and this, according to Ashtar, is what gave rise to the infamous abduction programs that your researchers and experiencers have documented so extensively.
Wow, that's a truly chilling connection. If this was an authorized agreement, that then devolved into these traumatic abductions. Who was responsible for that deviation? Was it the same benevolent Greys like Skinny Bob's group or something else?
Ashtar clarifies responsibility for this deviation, stressing that this darker program was not authorized by most benevolent star groups, including Skinny Bob's family. It was apparently the work of a rogue faction.
Rogue faction?
Yeah.
Human, ET, or both?
The implication is likely both certain human elements within the secret government structures and certain less benevolent extraterrestrial groups who perhaps exploited the initial agreement for their own agendas. This is an important distinction made by the source, suggesting internal divisions and differing agendas even among extraterrestrial groups, and maybe a moral feeling on the human side to properly oversee the terms of the agreement. It implies that not all ETs are monolithic in their intentions or ethics. Ashtar also claims that for decades we, meaning the Galactic Command, have worked behind the scenes to repair those errors, implying ongoing corrective actions from benevolent groups to try and mitigate the negative consequences of this pact and its unintended harmful fallout. They've apparently been trying to realign the path of humanity's interactions with the broader cosmic family onto a more positive track. #, the future of disclosure and your part.
So with all these pieces of the puzzle coming together, the ancient connections, the secret treaties, and their complex aftermath, the emergence of figures like Skinny Bob and J-Rod, what does this all mean for you, our listener? And what can we realistically expect in the coming months and years regarding this grand disclosure that Ashtar talks about?
Well, Ashtar affirms that these days of obscure operations are ending, those secret treaties. They're being reviewed not in closed rooms by military leaders, but by the collective will of awakening humanity.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement, isn't it? It shifts the locus of control, the authority, from some secretive elite to the global population itself. It suggests that public awareness and the demand for truth are becoming an irresistible force.
And what about the individual's role in this, our listeners?
You, the listener, are empowered in this process, according to Ashtar. The source states, every time one of you shares these truths without fear, every time you question official narratives with love and discernment, you accelerate the process. It really emphasizes that individual actions, even seemingly small ones like having a conversation, sharing a piece of information, contribute to this massive global shift. And discernment here is key, processing information critically, not blindly accepting everything, but also not immediately dismissing things either, weighing it against your own intuition and understanding.
So it's not just about waiting for governments to tell us things.
Not at all, according to this perspective. And Skinny Bob and J-Rod, Ashtar claims, are not exceptions. There are apparently others like them, some still in hidden facilities, others living discreetly among you, and many more aboard our ships awaiting the proper time to reveal themselves. Ashtar expands on their diverse origins. They come from star systems like Lyra, Pleiades, Andromeda, and Zeta Reticuli. These are vast and varied civilizations, each with their own unique characteristics and relationships with Earth. Some are physical like yourselves, meaning they exist in dense material bodies like us, while others exist in subtle dimensions, maybe visible only to those with expanded perception or perhaps with certain technological aids. This suggests a very multidimensional reality of contact.
Physical and non-physical beings.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does Ashtar define true disclosure then? Is it just seeing ships or getting documents?
No, true disclosure, Ashtar explains, will not come just from spectacular sightings or documents released by governments. While those events might certainly be part of it, Ashtar claims that true disclosure will come from within when you recognize that you have always been part of this cosmic family, when you heal the fear of the other in your own hearts. This emphasizes a profound internal spiritual transformation as the ultimate key to full conscious disclosure. It's about overcoming our ingrained biases and embracing a sense of universal kinship.
So the outer reflects the inner, in a way. What about future events? Does Ashtar give any hints?
Yes. Ashtar provides a sort of prophetic glimpse of future events, painting a picture of an inevitable, accelerating revelation. In the coming months and years, you will witness events that challenge everything you thought you knew. Ships will appear in greater numbers, visible to more people around the globe. Stories like Skinny Bob's will be corroborated by unsuspecting sources, perhaps through declassified documents, former officials finally speaking out, or even mainstream scientific discoveries that suddenly make sense in this new context. Eventually, Ashtar claims, those who once swore to guard these secrets will find themselves forced to speak the truth, whether that's due to internal pressure, external events, or just the sheer weight of evidence becoming undeniable.
and our role during this potentially turbulent time.
You are given direct guidance. Until then, remain calm and clear. Do not fall into traps of fear or fanaticism. Ashtar reminds you, you have been prepared for this moment for countless lives, implying a kind of spiritual predestiny for many individuals currently alive. You are the light workers and starseeds, terms used within the source material referring to souls believed to have originated from other star systems who have incarnated on Earth specifically to assist in humanity's spiritual and evolutionary awakening during this transition.
Lightworkers and starseeds.
Okay.
And what do they do?
Ashtar suggests different roles. Some of you will bring proof, maybe through research or whistleblowing. Others will shelter the lost with compassion, helping people navigate the confusion and fear. And many will simply radiate unconditional love, the key that unlocks all doors. It highlights different but equally vital ways individuals can contribute, whether through active research, compassionate support, or simply embodying higher frequencies of love and understanding. Ashtar concludes with reassurance. Know that our connection never breaks. These words are offered as a golden thread in the fabric of truth we are unraveling together. You are not alone, you never were, and you never will be. The message ends with a powerful image. Our ships continue to watch over the skies, not as distant observers, but as loving guardians of this sacred transition. And a final invitation for personal connection. When you look to the stars at night, feel our presence, for we are always closer than you imagine. And when doubt or fear arise, remember, love is the only force capable of dissolving all illusions and opening the pathway to the grand cosmic truth.
Wow. So as you, our listener, reflect on everything we've uncovered today, from the quiet dignity of Skinny Bob and the, frankly, deeply profound connection of J-Rod, to the complex web of secret treaties and the undeniable signs of a planetary awakening, maybe consider this. Could the very act of our collective beliefs and openness, our willingness to not just accept but to feel this reality and embrace our place within a larger cosmic family, could that be the most powerful force in accelerating this grand cosmic unveiling? Could our internal shift, our healing of fear and embracing of compassion actually be the true engine of disclosure? Something to think about.
Absolutely. Take these revelations as presented in our sources to your hearts. Discern wisely, using both your mind and your intuition. Share courageously what resonates with you, and above all, keep that flame of hope alive. The days that are coming will indeed bring challenges as old paradigms inevitably crumble, but according to Ashtar, they will also bring miracles far beyond our current comprehension. The re-encounter is closer than you imagine, a reunion with a family you've always belonged to. Walk in the light, speak the truth as you find it, and know that we are one.